Welcome to Red Tiger Chronicles. This is Sifu Paul Mason, owner of Red Tiger Martial Arts in Cincinnati, Ohio, and this podcast is to help some of the most extraordinary martial artists that walk among us tell us their stories. Hi, today we have with us Erin Barger. She is a friend and colleague in the martial arts community and the owner-operator of COBRA Defense Cincinnati. I'm just going to run down a little bit of your bio of what I know, and you can correct me later on if I'm wrong. 2009, you got a bachelor's degree in instrumental music education from Berea College, followed up with a master's degree in education in 2011 from Western Kentucky University. You're a U.S. Army veteran, having served from 2012 to 2018. And in 2018, you got a bachelor's degree in clinical medical laboratory science from the University of Cincinnati. You're a first degree black belt in karate from the U.S. Martial Arts Academy. And just this year, you earned your first degree black belt in taekwondo from the Cincinnati Taekwondo Center, affiliated with the Oriental Martial Arts College, headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. You've also studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kung Fu, and in 2023, this year is when you started full-time as a instructor at COBRA Defense Cincinnati.
That's all correct.
All right, did I miss anything?
No.
Anything you want to plug or brag about? Or
No, I think that just about covers it.
Okay. All right. Actually, I guess I have a question. When did you get your karate black belt? I was thinking 2018, but
yeah, maybe 2018, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I was just curious. It's more for my...
I think I got it right before I came to Ming's martial arts.
Yeah. So that's how we know each other, how we first met. You came to where I was training and trained under my Sifu for a little bit, and then had to take a hiatus and found another home at CTC. So
that's right.
And then I ended up getting space there to train and circle back around again.
Mm-hmm. Small community.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, good in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So why don't you tell us, how did you get into martial arts? What brought you to your first martial arts class?
Okay, so I actually took a free after-school course when I was in elementary school. It was like a 6-week course that some local martial arts teacher came in and offered at my elementary school. And so I stayed for that. And then I wasn't able to continue afterward, and I didn't pick it up again for another 20 years or so, 22 years, something like that. When I was in the military, I really enjoyed learning the combatives program through the Army. And it's funny. So after I moved to Cincinnati, I started looking at online dating, and I came across the profile of this guy. And one of the things he had listed in his profile was that he really wanted to, meet somebody that he could spar with. And I thought, I could spar with somebody, sure. So I started looking for martial arts schools.
Okay.
And I should say I did eventually marry this guy.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. So I started looking around and I found my first, my karate school, and, it turned out that I love it. It's really become a real passion for me. So, weird way to start, I guess, but I've stuck with it for 10 or 12 years now, I think so.
Yeah. So I got to go off the reservation. I got to go off script here. So let's back up. Let's time travel back to about 2013, 14, 2012. You were on online dating,
yep.
Right? And so you saw this profile, and somebody asked, or they said they desired a date. Or somebody that they could spar with.
So this sounds like terrible when you say it like that.
No, I'm just asking for clarification.
No. Okay, so
judgment-free zone.
Sure. So Yeah. So in his about me that you fill out when you do online dating, he used to study Taekwondo when he was younger, and he was a national champion in sparring.
Oh, wow.
He was actually an alternate for the Junior Olympics. And so it was a big deal to him. And in also talking about how this is one of the things he loves and all of that his sort of dream, partner or whatever is somebody who could match him on that level.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, that could be fun. I could learn to do that.
So did you spar on the first date, or?
We did not spar on the first date, although right after I started karate, so I was still, I think, a white belt. I was over at his house and I was like, hey, let me show you this thing that I learned, and he's like, okay. And we're standing on, I'll never forget, we've probably been dating for 3 or 4 months, We're standing on his front porch and I'm like, okay, are you ready? And I got my fists up. He goes, yeah, I'm ready. And I just went, bam, and I popped him right in the face, punched him right in the mouth. And I am horrified, right? Because I'm a white belt. I've never hit anybody, absolutely horrified. And I'm like, I am so sorry. Oh my God, I've just started dating this guy. Now I've punched him in the face, And he looks at me, kind of smiles and touches his lip, and it was fine. I didn't hit him that hard. But he's like, you know what? No, that's my fault. I'm a black belt. I should have known better. I should have dodged. I should have blocked. That's on me.
Okay.
So I think that was the last time we quote unquote sparred.
Interesting.
So I guess that means that so far I'm winning.
Okay. So I assume he's going to listen to this podcast. And,
oh, yeah.
And so that you're basically saying this is an open challenge for rematch.
All right, Joe, I want you to understand this is an open challenge for a rematch. Right. You saw my sparring at the black belt test, so just, you know what you're in for now.
But we'll have to do a part two on this to see.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on. Yeah, hear his side of it.
Yeah. All right. Where the heck were we? Okay. So first and foremost on my mind, I guess, I think, a lot of people want to know, and I want to know too, like why Cobra? Why did you decide to put your eggs in this basket? And what is it? Like, what is COBRA Self-Defense?
So COBRA Self-Defense is a reality-based self-defense program. It was developed by a man named Chris Sutton. He was a law enforcement officer, sheriff's deputy, corrections officer down in Florida, who wrote the whole program based on the police academy. So the whole program is built around simple, effective techniques that work right now. So I love the martial arts, but the thing about martial arts is that you learn things other than self-defense, right? You learn discipline and you learn respect and you learn your forms, you learn very technical kicks, sometimes very technical strikes, things like that. And it takes a long time to really be able to apply any of those things in a real scenario. Mm-hmm. And so the nice thing with COBRA is that I can teach a 2-hour course and students can leave there at that time, after those 2 hours with things they could use right then.
Okay.
And I think that's the big thing that sets us apart from any martial art. It's just, it is very simple, very direct, focused self-defense skills. Mm-hmm. As to why that program, I was really drawn to that, I think, after talking to the CEO of the company, Mark McKay, mm-hmm. and talking to Chris Sutton, I really like their philosophy on that. Now, as a business, for me personally, I have a lot of family members who are and friends who are in vulnerable demographics, I guess. Okay. I have family members who are gay. I have family members who are Jewish. I have family members who are in the healthcare community, which you wouldn't think would be necessarily a vulnerable demographic, but it is. The instances of workplace violence in healthcare are significantly higher than other professions.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until
Nikki,
Alex here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Nikki's a nurse, and she gets punched and kicked all the time, and she can't really defend herself. She can try not to get hit, but
Yep. Both my mom and my aunt are nurses. They're unit nurses down in Lexington, and just hearing some of the stories from them, you can't. It's right. It's not like you can just turn around and hit your patient. And sure, there's security in hospitals, but they can't be everywhere. And So
just for clarification, Nikki is one of my students. Alex's significant other, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, she has used some of the stuff. So this is a quick plug for me. Some of the stuff from our class to try to negate physical contact.
Absolutely. She's, like the bridging skill type things. I know that she said one time someone threw a punch at her and she just taunts out out of habit. Yeah. I was trying to think of the right word.
And that's the kind of reflex, I want to build. And I think that's the kind of reflex you want to build, Erin, but you want to condense that down so it's easily obtainable and consumable for your demographic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, we're both trying to accomplish the same things. And I was thinking, a lot of people might be like, why are you going to have a self-defense professional on your podcast? Your website is Red Tiger Self-Defense. Well, I kind of use that as a double meaning. Like, I want you to be able to protect yourself if a potential attacker confronts you. But when I talk about self-defense, I'm talking about, can you set boundaries with unhealthy people in your life? Can you, navigate relationships to make them more, win-win situations rather than detrimental to your mental health or the other person's and things like that. So, like you were talking about, martial arts, taking a standard martial art class, it requires a long-term dedication, which may not be for everyone.
Right.
So, healthcare professionals, I would have not known that until I met one, and I had those anecdotes to share.
Yeah, I know. So one of the things that we try and focus on is not just, the physical side of martial art or the physical side of self-defense. It's also, situational awareness and, just paying attention around you and just little things here and there that you may not think about. There's so many people walking down the street, head down on their phones. I do it myself sometimes, I'm trying to get someplace. I just need to let somebody know something. And, in that 5-6 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever it takes to send that text, I'm not paying attention around me, or it's, it's also about giving people that confidence to say when they're uncomfortable with somebody being too close or speaking poorly to them or, whatever, that ability for them to understand that that's not okay and that they can say something about that. That's also something that we teach.
That's a lot of what Sifu talks about in his self-defense classes. Like, I think one thing I remember you always say is that like true self-defense is everything that happens before there's actually a physical altercation. So like you're saying, being aware of what you're doing and being able to set boundaries before something happens. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I am kind of maybe opening a Pandora's box with this next question, but when you think about self-defense classes, and I kind of get this, everywhere I go, if the conversation it gets steered towards teaching a self-defense class or workshop or seminar or anything like that, it's always, something to the effect of, do you teach self-defense classes for women? Or wouldn't it be great if, you had a women's self-defense class? And why do you think that self-defense skills are usually just kind of segmented towards like the women demographic? And why don't people just automatically, and I kind of know a little bit of this answer, but I like, for you to articulate, why aren't people saying, self-defense is good for everybody?
So I think that's a really big answer. I guess first off, let me start with saying that self-defense is for everybody. If you're a man or a woman or other differently gendered or, age, none of that matters. Self-defense is for everybody, period. One of the reasons, so I do offer a women's only class. One of the reasons for that is because there are women who don't want to train with men. And while I personally think that women should train with men, because that's the reality of the world, is it's not a world full of women. If it's a question of a woman taking a self-defense class or not, I would rather her take a self-defense class with just women than not take one at all. So there's a level of comfort there. And actually, I was talking about a women's class one day, and a man who was standing there said, well, why don't you offer a men's only class? And I said, if you have a group of men who want to take it, I'd be happy to teach that class. That's fine with me. It's just that usually that's not how I get approached.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain reality that, women are more vulnerable, not necessarily because they're less capable than men. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that women are more vulnerable because they're seen as more vulnerable, so it's very much a perception that women are weaker, that women are easier targets, that they're softer. And, there are plenty of women that I know that I would not want to be in a physical confrontation with.
Yeah, I've seen many a YouTube video.
Yes.
Many a white plastic chair flying at some guy. A woman.
Right. And it's so, but because of that perception, I think women, particularly women in the Midwest, we're taught to be small and quiet. And actually, there's a podcast that I like to listen to a lot where they always say, be rude, be weird, stay alive. And what they're talking about is, if somebody is following you around a store, or somebody just giving you the general creep vibe, that you can turn around and be like, why are you following me? Like, you can make a scene. You can be rude if it's a matter of your own safety, or even if you think it's a matter of your own safety. The worst thing that's going to happen is some stranger's going to think you're rude.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
You got it. Agree 100%. So thinking about your credentials that I kind of rattled off at the beginning, you got a pretty strong musical background. So how long have you been playing instruments or been interested in music and that kind of thing?
Well, so I grew up singing Christmas carols in the car with my dad, which is kind of probably one of my earliest musical childhood memories. So I've really sort of been doing music, I guess, since then. I've been in choirs. I've been playing musical instruments since 4th grade. I think I started on cello, and then 5th grade picked up a saxophone, and that's what I played all through middle school, high school, college, grad school.
Cool. So that wasn't even really my question. My question is actually, what, if any, concepts from music have helped you with your understanding or practice of martial arts?
So like martial arts, being a musician is a discipline. There's a certain amount of time that you have to invest, and there's a certain amount of things that you need to give up. I remember being in the music building at Berea College till 2 a.m. and working on piano, because that's what I needed to do to pass. And, public safety would come through, and they would sort of look in the window, and I would wave, and they would wave, and they were supposed to kick me out, and they didn't, but I was always there. It's the same thing, when I started taking karate, after a while, I would stay late after class, and I would work on things that I needed to work on. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. There's the attention to detail, there's working on being able to work on something over and over and over and over until you get it right. Those are both common traits between music and martial arts. There's also so you have musicians who are technically good, right? You have technical musicians who are incredibly good, but maybe aren't as creative as some others. And then, it's the same thing with martial artists. I know some martial artists who are technically correct, but they lack that art part of martial art. And for me, you have to have both of those things. You have to be both technical and detail-oriented and be doing the right thing, but there's also a certain amount of style to it. And, there's that personal style that comes in just like it does when you're really making music.
Makes sense. Cool. Alex, I'll let Alex kind of chime in if you want to, just because you've been a musician for a lot of your life as well. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. Being able to having locked myself in my room and practice the same scales or whatever I'm practicing on guitar for hours and hours has it's taken a similar discipline for me to do that. Say working on a form or working on my correct form of my strikes type thing. I also think I like to think about when you're sparring, rhythm is important, but in the way that you want to get someone's rhythm and break it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way you want to feel out someone's rhythm, but instead of going with it, you want to break that rhythm. I just think it's interesting.
So yeah, musicians out there, martial arts is for you, is basically what I'm getting from it.
Definitely.
Cool. So yeah, going back to your education and background as far as that's concerned, and this is something I'm curious about because I've been a martial arts instructor for some years now, but I've never had any, I guess, quote unquote, formal, teaching on how to be a teacher. Of course, your martial arts mentors, my Sifu, are going to teach you how to do things and teach you how to lead class and teach class. And there's some concepts, but you have a master's degree in education. So that's a lot of teaching about teaching. So I was wondering, are there any lessons from that world that have helped you when you're trying to teach martial arts or get across concepts or help somebody unlock their abilities?
I think maybe the biggest thing that I've taken from that education is that everybody learns in different ways. I don't even know if it's a held theory anymore, but I remember learning about an educational theory. I think it was the Gardner theory of multiple intelligences, which is basically that there were several different categories, and I don't recall how many now, but different ways that somebody can be intelligent. And I think for me, I find that the best way to teach is to find the thing that your students engage with. When I'm working with teenagers, sometimes I will make reference to D&D because it's something I understand and it's something I know they understand. I try to, when I give examples, I try to give adult-specific examples, or I try to give teenage-specific examples. So I'm working with a mother and her daughter right now in one of my classes, and we were talking about what to do if somebody was to grab your wrist and how to get out of that. And the scenario that I gave the daughter was that she is standing in the hallway at her high school, and she's talking to another, a male student that she knows. And so she has let them get close to her because she knows them. And while they're talking, he grabs her wrist. And now what are you going to do with that? And I kind of laughed because when the mother walked up, I said, okay, you're not being grabbed by a teenage boy. This is, So I had to change this example for her. But that's kind of the big thing, is finding the thing that your students can relate to. Because I know for me, if I can relate to it, I can understand it. And if I can understand it, then I can retain it. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I've taken from my educational background is really finding a way to relate to the person that I'm teaching so that they can better understand what it is that I'm trying to get them to understand.
Cool. Very cool. Probably the last real planned out question. Just curious, this might be a little personal, so you can decline to answer, but have you been in a self-defense situation yourself and had to use some of these skills?
So I get asked this a lot, unsurprisingly, as a self-defense instructor. And usually what people mean is, have you ever had to physically defend yourself? Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to throw a punch, or have you ever had to, whatever it is? And the answer is no, I haven't.
Well, let me clarify. So being from that martial arts background, I'm asking this question: have you been in a self-defense situation? Not only meaning have you had to throw the punch, but have you had to, kind of like Alex mentioned, have you, just been in a situation where, your spider sense went off and you thought something was super sketchy, so you did have to engage in some, conflict avoidance things. But yeah, the question could also mean, have you had to throw a punch, a kick, had to choke somebody, elbow somebody, wrist release, wrist lock?
So I have not had to punch somebody, or hit somebody. I have on many occasions, been in that sort of skeezy, something's not right here, feel. And in that case, I mean, probably weekly, monthly, I used to work second shift in, Newport, Kentucky. And that means I left my work at 11 p.m. And I walked to my car by myself at 11 p.m. And, after a while, and this is before I was really studying self-defense, I just developed my own ways of paying attention and ways of preparing. And, I didn't walk out looking at my phone. I always walked out with my keys in my hand, not between your fingers. That's a myth. Don't do that. I would get in my car. This is a big one. Get in your car and then start the car and put it in reverse. And then I would put my seatbelt on and put in directions and stuff, because that way, if I was doing something and my head was down and somebody walked up to my window or, wherever, all I had to do was hit the gas and I was out, and that's just something I sort of picked up intuitively.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've definitely heard the, not have your face in your phone, not wearing headphones, have your keys ready type thing. But I've never heard anyone say that. They get in, start their car, get it in reverse right away. That's actually something that we talk about in COBRA. It's lock and relocate. So get in your car, lock the car, and then relocate. Go wherever you're going. If you need to call somebody, call them at the next red light, call them at a stop sign, wherever it is. But don't sit in your car where somebody has just watched you walk to your car and they know you're alone.
I kind of do that. I'm going to date myself, but it's whatever. I kind of do that anyway, because I remember, when I was a kid, I think I was probably 9, 10, 11 before they made it a law that you had to wear seat belts. So I remember my formative years was parents didn't care if I wore seat belts or not, I mean, my dad would smoke cigarettes in the car with the windows rolled all the way up, if we were on a road trip for 3 hours, so I didn't care about wearing a seatbelt. It's only after the threat of, a ticket or something, it was you better put your seatbelt on. So yeah, I typically get in the car and just start it up and start going to where I'm going, and then I'll click in just as I don't know. I just resent it, kind of. I want my freedom.
You are free to go through the windshield. That's fine.
Freedom.
But
good point. Good justification, because if if you happen just to forget, like,
Mm-hmm.
to put your seatbelt on, you can say, hey, officer, I was in this really sketchy situation, so I just wanted to get the heck out of Dodge before.
That's not on me. If you get a ticket for that, that's not on me.
Right. Well, I heard this lady from COBRA Defense Cincinnati say that we should put our seatbelt.
Right. That's not right at all.
It's actually unsafe to put my seatbelt on?
That's not what I said.
All right. So, that's the last real question, I think. So, I want you to now be able to plug, like, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, find you if they want to take, a purely, self-defense class or course, and, what are your next events, that kind of thing?
So the best way to look and see what all my events are is on my website. It's www.cobradefensecincinnati.com. And just go, there's an events tab, and it should list everything I have currently scheduled. I have a women's class once a month. It's usually the first or second weekend, first or second Saturday evening. It sort of just depends on the available space at Cincinnati Taekwondo Center. But all the classes I teach standard are out of CTC. I also schedule private classes or private lessons, and I'm currently running a 10-week self-defense academy that's actually is based on the police academy. It's sort of a police academy for civilians.
Cool.
So it runs for the full 10 weeks. It's 2 hours a month or 2 hours a week for the 10 weeks. So
Right on. All right. I think that's all I have. We might try to get in some demo for the Martial Minute so we can put something up on Instagram and Facebook and promote this thing. So, I'm pretty much done. Alex, you can take us out.
Bye.